What's up, guys? This is St0p, bringing you another audio commentary for WCReplays.com. Basically, this is going to be the burrow rush audio. People who know me well, this is definitely a strategy I like to bust out every once in a while, and particularly on certain maps. Secret Valley and Tyrannostand being my two favorites to do it on. Secret Valley, personally, I think is the best map to burrow rush on. I'm going to try and explain why it's so strong, such a strong strategy, as well as how you can adapt it based on what the elf does to counter what you're doing. Anyways, with the game still paused, I just want you to take a look at the base builds of my opponent and myself. You'll notice he's doing the standard Ancient of War creeping, the Null Overseer camp, which is actually a pretty difficult camp to creep with the Overseer. I believe if you don't need it, I think you do need a wisp there repairing the Ancient of War. If you don't, your Ancient of War is still going to take considerable damage. And you'll see from my base, it's a little tight, maybe more tight than you might be used to seeing, but it's still a standard base build. And I'm going to talk about why that's important after we get the game started. So let's get the game started in 3, 2, 1, on pause. Okay, Fog of War off, please remember. Why is it important that my base build is pretty much standard? Well, what makes this strategy so powerful is that once his Scout Wisp comes, and it's inevitably going to come, and you can see it coming as we speak, or as I speak, he sees exactly what he expects to see, which is an altar and a barracks and a burrow, possibly a second burrow going up. And I mean, pretty much every single player on ladder will look at that base and say, okay, standard. They might, things that they would scout for would be a late Rax, an early Voodoo Lounge, no Rax in a War Mill if it's gonna be someone using the Blade Master and Mass Path strategy, something like that. They'll look for deviations from the standard build, and when they see a standard build, they don't expect anything but a standard game. They expect the 2 grunt tech. They expect a Tauren Chieftain versus Dots, or a Shadowhunter versus Hunts, and they expect to play it that way. I scout his base and I see exactly what I know he's doing. I know he's building archers because there's no Ancient of War in his base and there's no Hunters all going up. I see his Demon Hunter head straight to the camp. I don't even need to see what's going on at the camp to know that he's creeping it. One thing that I really like about this map in particular is that the shops are so central to the actual map, and I can buy. You'll notice that not only do I sell the port, which is obviously going to be fairly useless if I'm going to be burrow rushing, but I buy the circlet, and I buy a second circlet and the Dust of Appearance, which does in fact delay my second grunt a little bit, but not severely. I leave the peon there until my Blade Master is ready to go. In truth, I could have built the burrow a little bit to the right of the altar. I had it just out of Fog of War, which is something I've started doing recently, which is really effective. But anyways, he sees the burrow going up. He builds an Ancient of War, which is, I think, the right move. And I just right-click on his Demon Hunter. And you're going to see with the grunt, the blade already does a little bit more damage. And now with 2 circlets, he really can't stand up to me in this kind of fight. I think he doesn't really have many options. I think his better bet would have been to focus down that burrow somewhat. Because as you can see, he focused my blade and did a negligible amount of damage. Also, because he was Ancient of War creeping, he wasn't able to build archers for a delayed period of time, so he's going to have less archers. And he has a delayed Moonwow. He has delayed his tech, which is the correct thing to do, I think, when you see the burrow going up, at least for a little bit. So I've sent 3 peons over, and they're going to obviously burrow. I don't want this Ancient of War going up, or if it does go up, I want it to take the maximum amount of damage. I put a Voodoo Lounge here, just going to make healing a lot easier. One thing I neglected to mention, and probably the greatest thing about Secret Valley, if your burrow rush fails for whatever reason, it's really great not to have the Voodoo Lounge, but to still have healing. Because if you're forced to build the Voodoo Lounge early, as a kind of precaution to your rush failing, then that's a waste of 130 gold and 30 lumber, which actually really hurts you when you think about, you're taking peons off your wood to go fill the burrows up, and then of course you're building extra burrows. So wood is going to be a problem, and so will gold actually as well. So if you have to build the early Voodoo Lounge, which sometimes I will do, that hurts your wood considerably. It hurts your burrow rush basically. You might not even end up having to use it. Whereas, so if he had, say for example, he'd repelled my rush and I hadn't built the Voodoo Lounge in my base, that would have been completely fine by me because I could have just gone to the town to heal. But anyways, so I send the blade there. The grunts, I'm really just trying to delay him as much as possible and get if you look back at my base, I haven't started doing it. I still have not tacked, and nor is he, so I'm committing to this burrow rush. One thing I could have done, and I looked for other replays when we're doing this, and I'm sorry. I recently got a new computer, so I don't have all of them. But one thing I can do is fake burrow rush, where basically I sacrifice one burrow and say 3 or 4 peasants, and delay my tech to go to 40 food, but I still do tech. And I could already, if you've been following my resources, I could have teched at this point and basically given up on the burrow rush. And if I'd done that, my opponent would have been stuck with 2 Ancients of War, which with the other Hunter's Hall are really not that useful, and no tech, so I could have had a pretty quick tier 2. But as it stands, I did get the burrow up, and I do have a lounge up, so I think I'm in pretty good shape. So I decided not to attack him. If you look back at my base, I do have a warm one going up, and that's going to be part of the essential. It's an essential part of this extended burrow rush, which is going on here, where if you come to this sort of what appears to be a stalemate, which is exactly what we're sort of in here. Neither of us really wants to engage the other head on. He has archers. He has his level 2 demon hunter, which is unfortunate. Obviously, you don't want him to have evasion if you can avoid it. But if you do get to this standstill, you really do need that war mill so that at a certain point you can put towers up and put pressure on him. Anyways, I just want to point out in that little one-on-one battle there between his demon hunter and my blade master, I actually won that even though I was level 1 and he was level 2, and that's the power of the circular right there. It gives you extra armor, extra health, extra attack speed. They're really very invaluable. So obviously repairing the burrow, attacking this Ancient of War. At this point, once you've forced the Demon Hunter out of his base, or if you've killed the Demon Hunter, and it's just archers you have to pick off, then you've won the game, essentially. And you notice I have towers going up now. The archers just don't stand up to the Blade Master by themselves, and at this point, because you're putting so much constant pressure on him, he doesn't really have wells for that instant healing, which is something that obviously he needs. He can't afford to run to the health fountain once my towers are going up. But once even one of those goes up, chances are he's lost the game. He is teching move I'm not really sure I understood. I think it was during the stalemate, but yeah, it must have been during the stalemate that he started that tech, hoping for a Summoned Hero to break that stalemate. And sometimes if they can successfully tech, they can get out a Fire Lord. Towers aren't up, and the spawns help a lot. A Panda, obviously, Breath of Fire is really helpful. Anyways, he's got more Ancients of War going up, but the truth is, by this time I have at least 2 towers that are going to finish. And enough grunts that I don't even need to be tower rushing anymore. I can probably push this game and end it. So the towers are going up. Looking back at my base, I have tech too. That's how much of a resource advantage I have. There's no reason not to, really, at this point in the stalemate. And it's safe for me to focus down his blade. This is something I really want to emphasize, and it's true not only when you're burrow rushing, but it's true in general in your games against Elf. If you take damage on your Blade Master and he takes damage on your Demon Hunter, it's almost always worth it for you as the Orc, because it costs you 33 gold to heal your hero 400 HP, whereas it costs them moon juice. And if you're going to be playing this aggressive style of game, it's much better to be taking the moon wall juice from them and costing yourself 33 gold. It's a very, very worthy trade-off. So anyways, as you can see, the towers are up. Once the towers go up, they have so much range that by the time the Ancient of War is able to get in range of the towers, it's already 50% health or less. And I have so many grunts, just so much meat. There's not very much you can do in this situation. So the archers are going down, towers are going up, I'm beating in on his main, and I'm already at 3/5 of the way to tier 2. Trap the Demon Hunter, and he leaves. We'll be leaving. There he goes. Honestly, that was a very sloppy execution of the burrow rush on my part. There were things I could have done considerably better, I think. I had a replay recently and can't find it now, but basically the same situation, and I just started building that first burrow earlier, just outside the Fog of War, which is really, really helpful, obviously, because there's less time that you have to protect the burrow and more time that you can fight with the burrow. But I want to talk a little bit before we get the second replay up. I want to talk a little bit abstractly about why this strategy is effective and in what scenarios it's useful. Even if you don't